The battered Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, is getting some relief from Russian attacks. U.S. Defense Department officials say Moscow's troops have completely withdrawn from the area, and that the number of airstrikes on Kyiv has dropped drastically in the last 24 hours. And officials sounded optimistic.
Of course they can win this. And if you look at what they've been able to do just thus far, Mr. Putin has achieved exactly zero of his strategic objectives inside Ukraine. He didn't take Kyiv. He didn't topple the government.
But U.S. officials say their intelligence indicates Russian forces are regrouping for a larger offensive near the eastern border. That's as the U.S. is sending another $100 million package of military hardware to Ukraine. Meanwhile, the U.S. announced a new raft of economic sanctions on Moscow. Washington is freezing the U.S.-based assets of Russia's largest financial institution and its largest privately owned bank. And on Thursday, the U.S. will announce a list of more Russian entities that will have their assets frozen. And Washington will cut off the families of Vladimir Putin and other top officials from accessing any funds in the U.S. In a Thursday morning statement, Ukrainian President Zelensky urged the international finance system to block all Russian banks.
If there is no really painful package of sanctions against Russia, and we do not get the supply of weapons that we really need, which we have asked for many times, it will be considered by Russia as a permission.
But the U.S. says the sanctions it has imposed so far are devastating. That includes preventing Moscow from using U.S. bank accounts to pay off the more than $600 million it owes for sovereign debt bond payments.
This question now, as a result of the decision around whether or not they would be able to make a bond payment earlier this week, that they will have to decide whether they are going to spend down dollars and resources they have to avoid default, or whether they're going to continue to spend that money in funding the war. And that is a part of our objective.
And the White House says Russia will ultimately lose at least the last 15 years of its economic gains as punishment and pressure to stop the attacks on Ukraine. Andy Roesgen, TRT World, Washington.